use, consistent with the allowed uses under the Village Mixed-Use Overlay District.
All right. And you indicated that town council, senior town council has, I don't need to see it, but
Yeah.
you have correspondence from him to that effect?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We have,
Thank you.
I had it in order, I could just pull it out, but there is a
It's all
letter
right.
from Attorney Zarulis
No
indicating
worries,
that
no
this
worries.
this proposal would not be a
I'm satisfied.
violation of that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, thank you, Mr. Plunkett. You had indicated that the planning board had a split vote for recommendation of adoption. What was the opposition of the, do you know, of the two people that were not in favor?
I don't necessarily want to speak with them, but we went back to the planning board to open up dialogue in terms of the issues of assuring that we could have a means or mechanism to come to a true consensus of how we devise the preservation of the Pike House. And at the first meeting, that we did change some of the language because on the night of the town meeting, we will be voting to amend it as originally proposed, and just where it had indicated the plan to relocate the primary structure. We'll now change the words "to relocate" to "which requires the relocation and preservation of the primary structure." And I think that it's something that we can work properly with the board, and I had actually called the planning board today to see about trying to schedule a working schedule and see if we could get the historical commission in there with the joint meeting on a working session with the planning board to devise a means to assure that we would have proper, language in place to achieve the goal of relocating and preserving this structure. And it should also point out that that both the Historical Society and the Historical Commission has voted in approval of this plan.
Okay, so that wasn't an opposition, it was more of a just fine-tuning of the article itself?
I think in terms of the opposition was, for one member, it was a concern about whether, how, the time element involved in, coming up with a means of producing the language that would be required, and I truthfully think that it is something that is very much doable, and, it might take a concerted effort of a number of people involved, but there's certainly prior groundwork that has been laid with this type of situation, and I've also dealt with this type of situation in other communities, and I don't see any problem with achieving language that could meet the goal of the warrant article and what the town is looking to achieve.
Excellent, thank you very much, Mr. Plunkett. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So this has been somewhat of an enlightening discussion for me in terms of the self-funding. And again, I was at the planning board last night and listened to the presentation, and Mark was, Selectman Crackman was also at that meeting. And the self-funding, I guess I did know about that, but I hadn't thought about that. So if just, we've seen projects come, and they just spoke about a project that didn't get developed earlier, like what will happen to this zoning if the funding doesn't happen to move the Pike House? Will the zoning still go through, or?
Well, if the zoning goes
What's us
through.
legally, do we?
If the zoning goes through, it specifically states that any request for a special permit must, that the planning board must make a determination that the requested VMOD, which is the Village Mixed Use Overlay District special permit, involves a plan which requires the relocation and preservation of the primary structure known as the Pike House. And then it goes on to say, otherwise, said request for said VMOD special permit must be denied. So we put in language in there that makes it clear that if that overlay district is there and someone comes forward with a requested special permit to utilize that overlay district, that doesn't include the relocation and preservation of the Pike House, that request must be denied. So it's specific language that they shall, that the planning board must make a determination, and if they don't make that determination, then the request for the special permit must be denied.
So last night at the meeting, I thought that I heard one or maybe two members talk about the legalities of the permitting, and that sometimes that this could go through and then they could go to court, and even though it's in there, that it would not be upheld. So I just want to, you know,
Yeah,
I mean, we're tying zoning into moving a building,
Yeah.
which is at the expense of the owner, which I appreciate. I mean, nobody's looking to save the Pike House. I heard your, you know, you made some valid points last night, but
And I
That
don't
is-
see where I think that you can achieve the purpose of having an enforceable, restrictive condition placed on there, which will achieve the condition of preserving the Pike House. And that's not a insurmountable obstacle. And that would be part of the permitting issue. That would be, you know, if this is approved and Mr. Andela comes forward with this request for the special permit, these are issues that must be resolved. And, you know, it's going to be a cooperative effort between the applicant and the town. And, you know, I've seen the town work many situations. When I was on the board, we dealt with many of situations that required, you know, time and effort, and I don't see that this is in any way an insurmountable obstacle.
and is there a deadline for when, is the clock ticking for when the Pike House has to be moved? There is, correct?
Mid-August.
The demolition permit delay ends August 3rd, and if the house is not moved by then, Group 1 will take the house down, so it needs to be done by then.
And I just have one last question, Mr. Chairman. When you're talking about this meeting that you're trying to get together with the commissions and the planning board, are you trying to do that before town meeting?
It won't be before town
That's
meeting. We're
what I
trying to
was
get
thinking.
we're trying to get the wheels moving as quickly as possible to see if we could get a working session scheduled, just so, you know, that we're into it with, you know, if we get the approval, we're ready to move forward and, you know, work within the window of expectation that we have here, which is somewhat tight in time frame, but it's still something that could be accomplished. And, you know, I think it should also be noted that the current owner of the Pike House has informed Mr. Andela today that he had sent he was going to send an email to the town manager, you know, signifying his or their support of this article, because they would like to see it, you know, preserved also.
I don't think that there's any doubt in anybody's mind that everybody would like to see it preserved, so I can't deny that effort. And I thank you for that as well, sir.
I just have a couple of questions. Looking at the time frame of what we're talking about, if this is to pass, and, you know, we get the zoning, everything that's worked out, is there a plan already in place to move the house? Has somebody already started working on that we have a company all ready to go, they're working with utility companies? I've been involved in house moves before. It takes quite a while for somebody to put this together, and if we really have a time frame of August, that seems awfully quick to get a house moved, but, you know, get through warrant and then get the house through there at that time. Is somebody already working on that if it is to be approved?
Yeah, I already have the company to move it. Next Monday or next Wednesday night, probably most likely next Wednesday night, the article will be read. I'm not sure if it'll be Monday night or Wednesday night. I don't know. It'll be Wednesday. That's what I figured, but it's one of those two nights, so it's Wednesday night, we'll know, and then go forward from there. I mean, I talked to Group 1, Marvin Marcel, pretty often, and he texted me last night, he called me last night, he called me today. He told me he was having the attorney lady, I forget her name, contact the town and saying he supports it. Just up to town meeting. And we wrote this article, putting the Pike House in there, and the permit goes away for the rezone if it doesn't get moved there. And town council had us change a few words, I believe, right, David?
Well, the town council had concern about just the language plan to relocate, saying that in of itself, say, okay, you planned to relocate it, but you didn't, but you planned to do it. So that's why we made the modification, which is part of the approval by the planning board to say which requires the relocation and preservation of the primary structure. So that would be a request on the floor of the town meeting, to change the language to include that strengthening of the certainty as to what is a key element of this, overlay district, and any special permit that comes forward, or any application for a special permit that comes forward, has to require the relocation and preservation of the Pike House. Otherwise, it must be denied. So,
And it keeps the historical designation along with it?
I mean,
It remains with the historical designation once it gets moved to this new location also. No, I'm fine. Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, I'll offer a motion to defer to the planning board on Article 31.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor of the motion to defer to the planning board on Article 31, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair will vote aye as well. That's unanimous.
okay,
Good
thank
luck
you for
next
the
week.
time, and we would appreciate your support the town meeting night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, so,
Mr. Chairman, since Steve Sadwick is here for the other zoning articles, can we take him out of order also? And then he
absolutely.
could leave?
So we'll start with then Article,
Page
25.
24, Article 25.
okay, so yeah, that'd be great. So Article 25, again, we'll try to move through these as quickly as possible. If anybody has discussion they'd like to bring forward, please do it quickly, otherwise we'll move to motion and a vote. So the executive summary in this one, actually, what, Mr. Sedgwick?
You can read it, Mr.
You want me to
Chairman.
read it? All right.
Sure.
The West Side Neighborhood Business District was created in 2014 after studying this unique balance of residential and commercial uses in this area, which was previously zoned heavy industrial district. This article will provide flexibility on dimension requirements for new projects that are under the planning board site plan special permit review process, so long as the requests meet the purposes of section 6701, such as acknowledge the balance of residential and commercial uses, promote compact development, minimize impacts on public services, and provide well-designed small businesses and services that support economic development. Any questions or discussions related to this?
I make a motion that we move to defer to the planning board on this article.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of deferring to the planning board on Article 25, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The chair will vote aye as well. Unanimous. Okay, Article 26. Pages here, okay. Executive summary of this article adds the ability for multifamily developments on private ways. It adds a cross-reference to section 7010, the affordability requirement of the bylaw, changes the building height to match what is in the dimensional table, and it adds the ability to waive certain portions of this section of the bylaw. This one's a fairly lengthy article. Maybe, Mr. Sadwick, you could just give us a quick
Sure.
idea of what this is about.
This is one of those house cleaning articles, and when we were looking at the multifamily dwelling section of the bylaw, it was pointed out to us that there are instances where multifamily developments could occur on a private way. So the planning board added that into section 7121 and wanted to be specific that it's a private way that's open for public use. So that was that change. Under section 7154, the board added in the affordable housing requirement, which again cross-references back to section 7010, and that requires that 15% of the units be affordable units in perpetuity, or it does allow for a fee in lieu of those units. What happens is if a developer looks at just this section of the bylaw, they miss the affordable housing requirement. They would have to thumb back a couple of sections. So we're trying to make it easier for people to just look at this section of the bylaw. Section 7156, the maximum building height shall be 35 feet. The recommended change is to 45 feet. Again, it's a multifamily development, and the table of dimensional requirements has in it 45 feet. So the planning board said we have an inconsistency, and they believe that 45 feet was adequate for these types of developments. And then the last one was taking that section 7170, which was a blank section, and it allows them to waive other sections of this bylaw based on findings that the waiver will provide for those listed reasons: the aesthetics, practicality of the design, and neighborhood and public service impacts.
Any discussion related to this item?
I'll move to defer to the planning board, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion to defer to the planning board. Do we hear a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. So we have a motion to defer Article 26 to the planning board. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair will vote aye as well. That's unanimous. Okay, Article 27. This is another housekeeping item to insert a cross-reference to Section 7010, the affordable housing requirement in both the open space residential design section of the bylaw and the multifamily, the MFD 55 section of the bylaw. It consolidates the affordable housing requirements within those sections for clarity. Anybody need any clarification on that before making a motion or any further discussion?
I'll make the motion to defer to the planning board.
We have a motion to defer to the planning board. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And I have a second. Article 27 to defer to the planning board. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The chair will vote aye as well. That is also unanimous. Article 28. In order to continue participation in the floodplain insurance program, the above referenced floodplain map needs to be incorporated into town's floodplain overlay district. These maps are updating previously existing maps already on file.
Mr. Chairman, I will offer a motion to recommend adoption of the article. This is an important article for insurance purposes for residents and businesses in the community, and it is, I believe, follows recent changes by the federal government on the flood zone maps throughout the country. So this is an important article to protect all of our residents in town.
Okay, so we have a recommendation for adoption. Motion for that. Do I hear a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
We have a second. All those in favor of recommending adoption of Article 28, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Chair votes aye as well. That one is also unanimous. Article 29. This article expands the definition of mixed-use development so that housing need not necessarily be a part of a commercial building, but could be accomplished with other buildings on site. The change is proposed for the Town Center Overlay District, Village Residential Overlay District, Village Mixed Use District, and the South Village Overlay District. Lots of districts. Do we need any clarification on this or discussion?
Move to defer to the planning board, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to defer to the planning board on Article 29. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Article 29 is also unanimous. We've already dealt with Article 30 and 31. So Article 32. Okay, so this,
Back to the beginning.
yeah, so let's
Yeah.
jump back to the beginning at that point. I think we've done our zoning
Thanks.
work. Thank you, Mr. Sadwick, for helping us out tonight. All right, so now back to, if we all can find our place, back to Article 2. Article 1, of course, was the election, which obviously already happened. So, Article 2, this is to fix the salaries of certain elected town officials. Any discussion? not, I'll ask for a motion.
Make a motion to recommend adoption of Article 2.
I have a motion to recommend adoption. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor of recommending adoption of Article 2, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye as well. Article 3. Should we take these individually?
Sure.
So Article 321, this is the purpose of this article is to accept the report of various town officers which are in the 2015 town report located on the town's website.
Move to recommend adoption.
Okay, I have a motion to recommend adoption. Do I hear a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
We have a second. So all those in favor of recommending adoption on Article 321, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. That's unanimous. Article 322, this article is acted on annually and allows the town manager to lease purchase equipment for various town departments subject to annual appropriation.
I'll make that motion.
To,
Adopt, I'm sorry.
that's all right. So we have a motion to recommend adoption of Article 322. Do I hear a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
I have a second. All those in favor of recommending adoption of Article 322, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. It's unanimous. Article 323, each year, the state indicates the amount it will allot to cities and towns for road work under Chapter 90. This article authorizes the town to spend these funds.
I'm making a motion to adopt the Article 323.
Okay, so we have a motion to recommend adoption. Do I hear a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
We have a second. All those in favor of recommending adoption of Article 323, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. That one is also unanimous. Okay. Article 324. Okay. This article reauthorizes the town to continue self-sufficient revolving fund accounts for the items listed above in the town of Tewksbury. Again, this is another housekeeping item.
Move to recommend adoption, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion to recommend adoption of Article 324. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor of recommending adoption of Article 324, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. One is unanimous as well. Okay, so now, Article 4. This is the operating budget. Where's the executive summary? I go right back. Sorry, hold on one sec. I seem to have lost my page. Just want to read it into the record. No, I don't seem to have pages.
There's no executive
Really,
summary.
just-
So just,
the-
so, I don't know if we want to read the individual. No, they'll be covered.
You don't need to.
So, this article is for our general fund operating budget. Any discussion relative to the budget tonight?
I'd just like to say that it was presented to the community prior to us voting on this in depth by a wonderful report presented by the town manager.
And there's also to
And
be
it's online.
a FinCom hearing tomorrow night.
Tomorrow evening, yes.
At 7 o'clock here in this room relative to that budget as well. So do I have a motion relative to
Let
Article
me
4?
offer just some comments, Mr. Chairman, and I will be happy
Absolutely.
to offer a motion.
Please, Mr. Johnson.
I've been sitting at this table now for, I believe, in excess of 9 years, and I would characterize this budget as, I think, the most generous budget that we've had to deal with in that time period. Early on in my tenure, we were going in reverse and making radical cuts. We find ourselves in the fortunate position now, and it's reflected in this budget, that we are restoring services, opening our library hopefully on Sundays, potentially establishing an all-day kindergarten program in the school system, utilizing funds to deal with issues that have long been neglected or not addressed in various ways, adding some health consulting, I don't have the right phrase, but at our senior center, nutrition counseling at our senior center. Outreach counseling, excuse me, at our senior center. So throughout the budget, there are many needed services that our residents have asked for, expressed concerns about, and many that are infrastructure, maintenance related that we need to take care of and tend to. So I believe, from my vantage point personally, that this is an exceptional budget, considering the resources that we have. It's not to say that it's a be-all and end-all. There's still things that we had to pare out, that the town manager and his staff made judgments and prioritization decisions about, and I'm supportive of that hierarchy that they created. There's much more still to do, but compared to where we were 6, 7, 8 years ago, this is light years improved, and I think our community should be satisfied and happy about this particular budget, and it is a reflection of the hard work and the solid fiscal policies that we have deployed to make this kind of a reality. So with that commentary, I will offer a motion to recommend adoption of Article 4 relative to an annual town meeting general fund budget recommendation of $99,697,945.
Before I ask for a second, is there any other further discussion? I apologize, I sort of jumped the gun there, so Mrs. Strong.
I just would like to say that while I agree with Selectman Johnson's comments, I would like to thank the employees of the town, because without their commitment to the health insurance deferral, I don't think that some of these things would be forthcoming and that we would be able to present this budget. So I do want to recognize that our town employees made a significant contribution in terms of their health care benefits to make this budget a reality. And I know that Mr. Montori and this board worked very, very hard with the employees to make that occur. But I just would agree with Todd's comments, but like to say thank you to our town employees for that as well. And I have no other comments.
Any other commentary, discussion? Okay, so with that, I have a motion to recommend adoption of Article 4. Do I hear a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion and a second. So all those in favor of recommending adoption of Article 4, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye as well. Unanimous vote. Article 5. This purpose of this